Hello again, it's Tuppence. I've got this wonderful bee mould which I got from Temu. It's got really intricate designs on the wings and the body, and I'm going to be using these chrome powders from Resin. They're gorgeous, gorgeous colours. So I've pulled out 5 colours to use on this, but they come as a pack of 10. And I got these from Amazon, so I'll leave the link in the description box below. I'm going to start with the wings, and I'm going to use 2 colours for that. I'm using the blue and the holographic silver. So if I open this, you can see just how rich the colours are. I'll start with the blue, and I'm going to cover the whole of the wing with this, but I really only want this to be on the intricate patterning. So I will cover everything. I'm going to speed this up a little bit. I'll show you doing one wing and then I'll do the other one off camera. I'm going to cover it all and make sure that it is brushed in and I don't have any loose powder left. Almost finished. And I actually did the leg, which I didn't mean to do, but that's okay. I'll clean that off afterwards. Now I'm going to take a baby wipe and I'm going to clean off the surface. So I'd be wiping off all of the raised areas of this part of the mould. And once you flip that over, those are going to be the recessed areas on the wings. It's coming off pretty easy. And you can see just how intricate that pattern is. And I'll get that out of the leg as well. Once I've done this, I'm just going to leave this to dry off, and it won't take that long before I use my other colour, and that will be the silver. Right, that's pretty good. I'm going to leave this to dry now, and I'll be back in a minute. I did the other wing as well while I had blue on my brush, so now I can go ahead and fill in the silver. So this will be in all the indents. Try and make sure I only put it on the wing and go all around the edges as well, but don't cover up that leg. I'll make sure to give it a good burnishing in, and that means it will be shiny on the mould once it's finished. Okay, that's pretty quick. So again, I got some on the leg, so I'm just going to clean that off because I do want that to be black, and that's the colour of the resin that I'm going to pour in. Just clean up the mould a bit and I'll go ahead and do the other wing. Right, now I'm going to move on to this red. I love this colour, it is so rich. And pop some in my lid, and then I can spread that into these, well, it's part of the body, the thorax I think they call it. So I'm going to basically just carry on filling in all of these areas, wiping off any bits that I don't want the mica powders to be on, and filling in. So I'm going to pop some music on and I'll be back once that's all done. Some of the areas are a little bit small for me to get into with a baby wipe, so I'm wrapping a scrap of it around a microbrush stick, creating a swab, and that allows me to clean out any of the smaller crevices. Then I just need to leave this to dry before I add the next colour of mica. To make my colours pop, I'm going to use some black pigment paste. This one's from Apex Resin. I'm going to put that into some craft resin that I've mixed up. It's a 1-to-1 low viscosity epoxy resin. And I want to make sure that I mix all of this pigment paste in. You don't want any raw paste in there. Otherwise that will never cure and it will transfer colour onto everything afterwards. I'm using the craft resin because, as I say, it is a low viscosity. This is a very detailed mould and there are loads of intricate areas where I can get bubbles trapped. Because I've put the mica down, I don't really want to be using a brush or a stick to try and get those bubbles out. So I'm going to mix this round, make sure that I don't have any streaks and I get all of that pigment mixed in, even the bits that are along the sides. I need to scrape the side. I'm not sure how much this mould uses, but I've mixed up about 80 mils. And then once that's mixed in, I'll scrape off my stick and clean that. Now I can pour my resin into the mould. I'm going to pour it from a height and try and pour it in a steady stream so that I can get into all of those intricate pieces and patterns. Pouring it from a height hopefully will knock out some of the bubbles too. So I'll get into all these thin areas of the legs. It looks like I've got more than enough resin. So I reckon this is taking probably about 50 ml maybe, but the excess I can put somewhere else. I'm going to tap this to try and dislodge some more bubbles. And now I'm going to take my dotting tool and I'm just going to poke the resin. Try and just move it around. I'm not really scraping the bottom. It doesn't matter about the legs. I can scrape the bottom with that because there isn't any mica in there. But where there is mica, I'm just poking it gently to try and dislodge anything that might be in there. And then once I'm happy with all of that, I'm just going to give this a quick spray of some isopropyl alcohol on the back. And then I can leave this to cure. And I'll be back for demold. So I'm ready to demold that now. Everything is nicely cured, but because the legs are still pretty thin, they are slightly soft or slightly bendy. This will take another 24 hours or so to be fully hardened. So I'll be careful getting this out of the mould. I'm excited to see what the colours look like on the other side. Okay. Well, that's not bad. I can't see any obvious bubbles. I did think these were bubbles along here, but actually that's part of the pattern. So the colours aren't perfect, and I am pretty disappointed, I think, with the silver in the wings. That hasn't come out as holographic as it could do. But yeah, I think I'm going to add some more resin. I want to fill in these gaps here, and I think I'm going to do that in a black glitter. So I might as well add some more colour onto everything here, really, and just pep it up a little bit. It's looking a little bit faded, and that wasn't really the look I was going for. Okay, so let me get my gloves on and I'll be back. I'm using this silver laser powder, and I've mixed that into some UV resin, and it makes a really gorgeous holographic glitter. So I'm going to use the mic brush stick, and I'm going to put that into all of the indents on the wings. So I'm going to speed this up again and put on some more music, and you can watch what I'm doing. And after I've filled this up, I'm going to pop this underneath my UV lamp to cure. Some into the legs, so I'm going to use some of the black glitter, and I'm just going to add that to the rest of the laser powder and the UV resin that I have. I'll mix that together. I'll just give it some added extra sparkle. I'll add a little bit more UV resin, and then I can mix this together, and I'm going to fill up the legs in the same way. So back to the music. Brighten up the other colours and just define them a little more, because they've become blurred where the colours have mixed. So I'm going to take the red chrome powder, I'm going to mix that with some of the UV resin, and I'm going to paint this onto the surface using a brush. Again, I'm going to speed this up and pop on some music, but once I've covered all the areas that I want, I'm going to put this underneath my lamp and give it a cure for 5 minutes, and then hopefully that will be all I need to do. Those colours are a lot brighter now. I'm loving the way that that holographic looks in the wings and the glitter in the legs. I added some blue to some of the areas in between just to bring out that gold so that it wasn't all just one colour. And I think that pops better. But now I want to put some fastener on the back so that I can hang this up. This is a D-ring which you normally attach with a screw. I don't want to use the screw because I haven't got very much resin here. It's not very deep, this mould. So I'm going to attach this using some glue. Going to turn this over, and I think one ring will be enough. I want to hang this on my garden shed. I'm going to use some super glue. It is a very smooth surface, so I probably won't rely on just the super glue to hold that in place. Let me unscrew this, and then I can add the glue onto the back. A couple of drops. Okay, and I need to put this near the top of the bee and roughly in the middle, hopefully in the middle. So I'm just going to hold this in place for a few seconds, and I'm going to use some UV bonding resin to add to the security of it. I'll fill in this hole and then I can cure that in place, and that should hold that pretty firmly. It doesn't take long. And there we go. I'm just going to test that that is cured, and it is. Great. So I think this looks much better, and I am loving the jeweled bee. Wasn't sure if I was going to put a crown on her head and make her a queen bee, but I think I'm liking it as it is. What do you think? Should I have added a crown? Let me know in the comments down below. Well, I hope you've liked this video. If you have, please give me a thumbs up, comment and share. And subscribe if you haven't. There's a QR code on the screen and you'll be able to scan that and subscribe to my channel. I'd like to thank you so much for watching, and come back and see what I'm going to make next time. Take care. Bye.